light of Leah's, how do you say? I'm not making light of Leah's religious journey, but Leah, the way she talks about Judaism, is like a kid playing dress up. Leah, I know you have to take classes to convert and whatnot, but what were Leah's grades in those classes? So let's get into the review. The Real Housewives of New York opens up. Okay, great. They're starting off with the pandemic. We all lived through the pandemic. It seems odd that Bravo keeps trying. Maybe they're doing it for the archives because we all lived through the pandemic. So what exactly is the point? Anyway, it shows New York before the pandemic, and then it shows New York after the pandemic, which is pretty sad, but it is what it is, right? People wearing masks, doing whatever. Leah's meeting with her trainer. She's like, I just had my surgery. I had to Google, what surgery did she have? She had a nose job or whatever, right? He's like, how'd it go? It went fine. You're looking right at her. We get into Ramona and Mario. You know, Ramona still flirting with Mario. Mario is still paying her debts. Even when she puts her hands in the chest, Mario is just like, where's Avery at? You know, Avery looks like Ramona's twin. If you see pictures of Ramona when she was younger, she looks just like Avery. Then we flip to Leah. Leah's talking to her dad and her friends about how she converted to Judaism. Again, I'm not making light of Leah's, how do you say? I'm not making light of Leah's religious journey, but Leah, the way she talks about Judaism, is like a kid playing dress up. Leah, I know you have to take classes to convert and whatnot, but what were Leah's grades in those classes? Because she's even like, oh, this is a Jewish holiday. Are you going to forgive me, Dad? And her dad's like, I'm not Jewish. No, you need to like repent. And she's like, no, Dad, this is the day that you forgive. Actually, the Jewish holiday, I forget the name, it's a day of atonement. So you still have to make up for whatever your sins are, right? So then she picks up her dog and her dad's like, is this a Mexican dog? And she was like, yeah. And he was like, well, then he's Catholic. Listen, I'm going to leave that right there. They go into the taglines. Everybody's like, you know, I may be rich, but now I got everything. You know, they're doing their usual corny New York taglines. I always thought they were the dumbest taglines. Eboni's tagline, I've had to work twice as hard to get half as much, and now I'm trying to take everything. I like the fact that Bravo's diversifying. You know, I heard there's a woman of Asian descent on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Obviously, there's the doctor on Real Housewives of Dallas. I wonder if she'll get a second season. And Eboni. And I don't know. I mean, Eboni, great for whatever she's done, but I'm a little uncomfortable with the way Bravo is making like, I'm a minority and I work twice as hard. It's giving me like the first time, if anybody's ever worked in corporate America, the first time your job actually has like corporate diversity training, and the way like everybody's like, you know, oh, what is your name? Kabucha. Oh, that is very beautiful. Where is that from? Oh, how do you say your name? Or when you go into a job and they're like, how do you say your name? Is Tisa. Oh, I love that. So exotic. Yeah, it's gonna be that tease, but like whatever. Let's move on. So we go over to, after Ramona has done putting the moves on Mario, right? She makes her way over to Luann's house. Guess what, guys? Luann has moved back to the city, okay? Here's the thing, right? Let me tell you guys why I kind of like Luann, besides her Diana Ross black person debacle, because Luann is what you want from a housewife. She is not a liar. She is delusional. She actually believes her bullshit. So it's this beautiful meld of hubris, right? I'm the count, you know, countess, whatever, delusion, and also lying. But it's this beautiful mixture that just makes her like so funny to watch. Anyway, she gets in there. Luann is good for every time a camera goes, she gets her story out there. Ramona walks in, oh, nice apartment. Yes, because you know, I have my houses. I sold them to cha-ching. She's doing her PR move to explain why she sold her houses. Why do we know? Because if you paid attention to the blogs, they were rumored that she was having financial troubles. You know, she made her kids sign up. It was all this stuff. You can Google it, but she sold her house. The penthouse looks beautiful in Manhattan. Of course, it has floor to ceiling windows, all this stuff. Listen, if I sold my house, I'd move back in with my mom's. Luann, she's moving into a penthouse, so she's still doing good, right? She's doing her PR thing. Oh, I've never ever been happy. Then she's doing another PR campaign in her sit down. Well, actually, I moved back to the Upper East Side, and this is like my home. Instead of just saying I needed the money, I sold my place upstate, and now I'm back in the city, right? She's like, no, this is just like my home. I love the other girls, Even I'm excited to see everybody, even Ramona, right? Ramona is like, I feel like I'm just meeting Luann for the first time. You already see them putting in the alliance for Ramona and Luann to get close, and her and Sonja to get on out. So I don't know how this season's going to be, but I see them kind of making this alliance. Let's see if it goes, because Ramona and Luann really do know how to play frenemies when they're not at each other's neck, but let's not forget that they will be quick to go back at each other's neck. Anyway, then Luann goes into another one of her infomercials. She's recovered. She's decided, after waking up several times, blacked out, not knowing where she is in upstate New York, she's decided she's going to quit drinking. Now, kudos to her for her journey. However, there was court mandated, there was this, there was that. I don't know if I buy the funk, but I do wish her well on her journey. But it was a little concerning the way she's like, here, I want to show you something. And I'm like, ooh, what's she showing her? And she pours her non-alcoholic rosé, or as I like to call it, Welch's grape juice, that sparkling cider they used to give you, Welch's sparkling grape juice that they used to give you for New Year's Eve when you were with your parents or whatnot, right? Then she calls it like non-alcoholic rosé, and she drinks that and all this stuff. And she's like, I don't even need alcohol. I don't even want it. I'm a new person. Listen, I hope this lasts, but Luann, if you really didn't need it, why are you drinking non-alcoholic? I know if I was eating low-fat ice cream, which is my weakness, that would really encourage me to start eating high-fat ice cream, but whatever. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Or we'll see if, remember Luann tried this mess a couple of seasons ago when she got court-ordered mandate, and she tried that mess, and they were like, and she was saying that she was drinking non-alcoholic, but it was actually real alcohol, and she thought she was doing the old switcheroo, and she thought nobody was noticing how she was slurring and whatnot. Anyway, they toasted their new friendship, and or at least Ramona thinks so, like, let's toast to our friendship. And Luann's like, I want to toast on being sober. You get that infomercial in. Yes, court ordered a sobriety. Luann is sober. She sold her houses upstate by choice, and she's glad to be back in the city. Good with Ramona. Okay, before I forget, remember I talked about Luann's intoxicating mixture of delusion, lies, and hubris? So she says to Ramona, come here, I gotta show you the best part of the apartment. Ramona scurries over like, what's going on? What's tea? She's like, look out the window, what do you see? She moved across the street. If anybody knows in New York, right, when you're in the high rise, uptown, across the street from Tom's place. So imagine if your ex got the house right behind your backyard. She's looking right into Tom's terraces. She's like giggling like, haha, I guess we can tell like whenever Tom's home because, I guess the lights are on or off. What's Luann's stalking Tom? You cannot tell me, even if you didn't know that your house faced Tom's terrace, you had to go with the broker, New York T, right? You had to go with the broker at least twice to look at the property. Your interior designer, because you didn't decorate that self. You said you got that from Kippenstein's or whatever. Your interior designer, and you had to do a walkthrough of the square footage where everything was going to be faced, right? You knew, and you bought this place. You knew damn well Tom's balcony was there. But welcome back, Luann. I missed you, right? Then they start talking about Sonja. Apparently, they're trying to make it seem like she has a problem because her daughter says she hasn't talked to her. Real tea. It reminds me of when somebody that I know my mom doesn't like is like, oh, hey, Tisa, how's your mom? I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to her because I don't even want to get in the conversation. I'm pretty sure that Sonja is actually communicating with her daughter. It just seems like the answer Sonja's daughter gave Luann is, my mom don't mess with you, and I'm not giving you any information. And Luann is one of those nosy people that you're just like, yeah, my mom, I have a mom. What are you talking about? Then they go over, it's literally I just can't get over the Tom and right across the street. Welcome back, crazy Luann. Welcome back. Then we get into Eboni and Leah. I guess they're going to form an alliance, or the producers are trying to introduce you to them as friends. Eboni, gorgeous woman, super accomplished. She's an AKA, for those of you guys don't know, that's a historically black sorority. She is a newscaster. She is a lawyer. And remember, she got into that spat with Donald Trump. Leah refers to her as Black Girls Magic. My friend Eboni, it's Black Girls Magic. Listen, Leah, fine, maybe you have a heart of gold. Again, Bravo is giving me like first day diversity training in an all-white company because one person of color, whether they're Black, Indian, whatever, Jewish, right, shows up and now they have to get training, right? It's just really awkward, like Black Girl Magic, you know, and the way it's just like, you know, I had to work twice as hard to get half as much and now I want it all. It's just like, we get it, we get it, we get it. Anyway, they bond over being gross. You guys, maybe I'm not even prudish, right? But there's something about it that toilet humor never got to me. So, you know, they try to have a little heart to heart. And Ebony's like, you know, Leah, are you ready? Are you ready for a relationship? Because something tells me, you know, when I got out the relationship, I wasn't ready. So it seems like the conversation's going to go deep. But then Leah's like, no. I mean, she starts telling her thing about how she was dating like a PETA guy. And then she sent a picture. He owns all the PETA trucks. And then she sent a picture of the PETA just covering like tidbits, and he forwarded that to people and saying like, oh, I think he's a real F-boy. For all of you guys don't know, there is a vein of men in New York that we call New York F-boys. They're the Mark Dailies. There's the PETA guy. There's the Tom D'Agostino. They're just like Peter Pans with hubris, God complex. And they have a bunch of women like Leah, there's a million Leahs and there's a million Luanns and Ramonas. And Sonja's chasing, well, not so much Sonja. Sonja goes for like that JP Morgan steez, right? But chasing them around, trying to get them to settle down. And because of that, they kind of feel like they're like, you know, Peter Pans up until they're 80. And New York is the only place that you will see a 6-year-old man in the club with bottle service, tossing it up, whether he has a wife or not. I'm not saying all men, there are good men there, but there is about 30% of the population that's just like Peter Pan, never, ever, ever. Imagine Ramona if she was a man and you had a million Ramonas throwing yourselves at you. That's like the New York dating scene when you're over a certain age, right? Or when you're, that's a New York dating scene, 30% of it. You try to stay out of that category. Anyway, you know, Leah's like, I don't know if I'm ready to commit because I don't want to have to be with somebody where I take dumps over their house. And Ebony's like, what? But then Eboni, this is how you can see that she's going to do great. She meets people where they're at. She was like, oh, okay, so this is about, okay. She's like, I don't care. Like, I'll go to the bathroom. And she's like, no, but Leah's like, I once broke up with somebody for farting in front of me. And Ebony's like, yeah, okay, I don't care. I'll go take, you know, do what I need to do. Okay, then we go over to Sonja. Maybe there is something going on with Sonja. I'm not saying that Sonja's whatever, but she did look like she had a couple of drinks. What's new? You know, Morgan Manor. She's in that same townhouse. Remember when she tried to Airbnb it? All right, she's in that same townhouse, but there is something about her that looks out of it. She is tipsy, but she's always tipsy. But I do remember in quarantine, everybody, no matter how well you handled it, had that phase where not being in connection with other people, everybody started to get kind of real eccentric. Started at different times for different people, but we all just learned to excuse it. She says she's happier in quarantine because she likes being by herself and she's had time to reflect. Anyway, let's move on. So we go to Sonja's house, right? She's with her assistant. She's saying her assistant, I guess, goes to Wharton School of Business. For you guys that don't know, that's like the premier business school, I guess, for Sonja Morgan's personal assistants. It's a great school. Donald Trump went to Wharton School of Business, but a lot of great people went. It's like it's better than going to Harvard Business School, all right? If anybody that went to Harvard is watching this, calm down. You know Wharton has a better reputation. Anyway, she's sitting there with her assistant, and she's showing her assistant her responsibilities. And she's like, you learn so much more from me than being in the classroom. And they're trying to turn the bath on. Sonja doesn't know how to turn the bath on. Her assistant doesn't know how to turn the bath on. Does anybody really live there? I mean, seriously, it's a bath. On top of that, Sonja's talking about, oh, you know what? What did she say? She was like, she moved back from her apartment into the townhouse because nobody was renting out the townhouse. And she wants to conserve money. Okay, fine, right? I just think it's like, Sonja is so, whatever. I always wondered this about, and you guys let me know in the comments. Do you know how, like, okay, I've lived in New York City for a while. They are actually archetypes of the rich women on Upper East Side that you find in New York City. I don't know Dallas. I don't know Atlanta. Real Housewives of OC and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I can say they are archetypes of rich women in California. Is Real Housewives of Beverly Hills archetypes of different women around Atlanta, just like Real Housewives of Dallas are archetypes of different types of women around Dallas? I'm just interested to see, because I will say about Real Housewives of New York, they actually hit the nail on the head about different archetypes, right? Million Ramonas, million Luanns, million Sonjas, they're everywhere. Anyway, Sonja finally gets into the bath. Probably the production people had to step in. She gets into the bath and she's looking, and they put somebody on FaceTime, and the shade, she's like, is that Leah? I said the same thing, because Leah looks completely different without makeup. Or maybe it's just the FaceTime thing. I don't know. Anyway, Sonja's like, are you coming to my party on Thursday? Leah's like, I wouldn't miss it. She introduces Eboni, you know, oh, I'm going to bring my friend. She's so successful. You would love her. Sonja's already like, you know, because you know, Sonja sometimes has that thing with other successful women, right? And then Leah, in the most unsmooth transition to get off the phone, is like, okay, she's in the full bath. Somebody's knocking on my door. I have to go. Leah, who is knocking on your door while you're taking a bath? Just say, girl, I'll call you back. Why? I want to finish my bath. We get to Eboni. Eboni has a nice little cute apartment. She let us know that she's renting, and we learn a little bit more about her, right? She's wearing her AKA t-shirt. Like I said, for those of you guys that do not know the AKAs, most likely you're not Black. Google them. They are the oldest historical Black sorority for women. Well, I guess sorority is for women. Giselle Bryant is an AKA. They're known for being the pretty, popular, kind of stuck up, but super successful girls. No shade to AKA, but they have a sisterhood and a bond that is unbreakable. I never pledged when I was in college. But, you know, they definitely had that sisterhood you look out for, right? She says there's, so anyway, Eboni's there. She's talking to her friend that knocks on the door, invites her over. They're drinking champagne, and we know more about Eboni. You see her little newscasting station. I'm sure that's because of COVID. And she talks about how before she's about to buy a 1-bedroom in Harlem, and she was looking at Harlem before, but what happened is she thought she was balling, and she went there and her credit score was beyond low, right? She said even your mom can't get your loan. The reason that is because at first she was a successful lawyer. She did big law. She hated that. Then she moved into being a prosecutor, and then she thought she had a bigger calling. So she threw all her money into becoming a newscaster. And I guess starting Revolt TV, I actually have to research a little bit more to see if she actually founded that, right? Again, I side-eyed Diversity Day at Bravo because the one clip they showed was her being like, California Governor Gavin Newsom is actually proposing legislation to give reparations for descendants of African-American heritage. And Bravo's like, Bravo, will you stop with Diversity Day? Listen, Eboni, obviously a proud Black woman. She is, to quote Leah, Black girl magic, right? Super accomplished, super gorgeous woman, super young. I really like her energy, you know. Her house is beautiful. She seems like she fits in perfectly with Real Housewives of New York. But Bravo, you don't have to keep hitting me on the head with, we the Black person, we have the Black person. Did you see the Black person? The very proud Black. Reparations, Black, 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 Black. I'm just waiting for for Eboni to be charged with talking about Black Lives Matter. Anyway, good news for Eboni. Let's move on. So we get back to Sonja's townhouse. It is the Grand Fete on Thursday, fete, whatever, on Thursday. I'll say Sonja has her florist there. Sonja really knows how to throw a party. I really, really, really love the way the outdoor sitting. Anyone that lives in New York City or have lived in New York City knows how precious outdoor space is, and the fact that she has that beautiful garden with the sunflowers. Listen, y'all in California, in the Midwest might be like, okay. In New York, we're just like, swoon. So anyway, you know, Sonja's being Sonja. She's like, oh, you know, I forgot her tag sticking out. And, you know, she's like crazy old Upper East Side lady, you know, watering her lawn or whatever she's doing, getting ready, the tag sticking out. She's like, oh, I don't know if I was going to keep this. Y'all, note to self, if you see anything Sonja wears in the store, walk by it, because you can bet that Sonja's returned it, okay? It's been dry cleaned and returned, right? Maybe. Eboni's there. She's wearing this really pretty pink dress. Eboni's a really pretty lady. Leah, she's super trendy. She's supposed to be the young one. Great for her. In the way over there, Leah was letting Eboni know about the things that happened with Ramona. The way Ramona knew she was bipolar, all this stuff, that, the third, but they're putting together a new leaf. Eboni lets it know she's going to be neutral because she's listening and she's like, But the real question is there going to be food there? So she lets Leah know off the jump, I'm not into this bullshit. Please keep me out of it. They get to the house. Sonja keeps them waiting because that's what Sonja does. Like she says, every event I've ever seen her home, the place is already ready for the guests, but she's never ready to receive the guests, But I see it with Sonja also. There's this endearing, social anxiety that she gets, and it turns into neurosis, and it's a little bit lovable. So she's sitting there trying to water the stone or whatever she said she was doing. Then she calls Eboni over and she's like, come here. I want you to take a look at this. What do you see? And Ebony's like, oh, nice fish. Sonja has a koi pond in her backyard. Oh, which is a luxury in New York City. Oh, nice koi fish. No, look at what you see. Every single color, and then Ebony's like, oh, how cute. You have a little black and white. Guess that's a biracial fish. And look, heavy set fish. And Ebony's just like, girl, stop. But Sonja, this is the first episode, but let's see if her heart's in the right place, even though it is like when Eboni was on the way over and she asked him, have they ever met a black person? Because Sonja's acting like she hasn't, even announcing that she likes diversity in her koi pond, right? They sit down in the Enchanted Garden in Sonja's house. Sonja starts talking a little bit about where she is, saying that she thought she was on the up. She got that partnership with Century 21, which for you guys don't know, that's kind of like a Marshall's or a Ross in New York City about that. And she got that deal to have her clothes sold exclusively there. But then when COVID hit, Century 21, like a lot of places in New York, had to declare bankruptcy and close. So Sonja really thought she was about to. Sonja's always having a scheme to make it. And I pray that one of them actually works out, because I don't know, maybe I have amnesia, but Sonja's always been pretty lovable to me. Eboni comes on for lawyer hat and she's like, yo, did you see the books? And she was like, well, no, I saw the tax records. And Ebony's like, you need to see the books. If you're 54% controlling interest in that company, you need to see the books. Don't trust anyone when it comes to business. It is sound advice. Then Eboni starts giving a little bit more of her backstory. Sonja's like, do you want kids? Ebony's like, yeah, of course. I was engaged. This guy had 3 kids. 2 of them were in college. One of them, and being a stepmom really made me want to have children. Made me want to have children of my own. There's nothing like that family, parental child love. She said, but Eboni lets us know that she was engaged up to January of 2020, right before the pandemic. And the pandemic made them tell the truth. The wedding never happened because, he didn't want kids. He was saying it because he wanted Eboni, but at the end of the day, he was not looking forward to being a father. So a lot of relationships fell apart with COVID. It looks like Eboni's did. And Sonja can relate. Her relationship didn't fall apart. Well, her relationship with money fell apart. Anyway, let's move on. All right, guys. So Luann and Ramona walk up in their matching cream suits. I guess they're going to be friends this year. I'm waiting to see how long that lasts, but a sober Lou and a repentant Ramona, I guess, right? They meet Eboni, hugs all around. We're sitting there eating. Luann's catching us up. She's messing around with the trainer. She says she manifested. One thing about Luann, she's going to keep a man. She was on Tinder, Raya, whatever app she uses. She swiped. She wanted tall, blonde, blue eyes, and that's what she got. His name is Garth. We see him a little bit in the preview for the upcoming season. So they're hot and heavy. Luann keeps the man. This is kept. Her and Garth are probably loudly messing around on the patio whenever she sees Tom's lights on. I still think that's crazy. She moved across the street from her ex, right? They get on what's going on with Ramona. Ramona's she's dating a few people. Sonja is coming at Ramona yeah, what are they, friendships? Even Eboni was like, what type of friends are y'all? She's like, what are they, friends with benefits? And Ramona's like, well, we kiss, they're not benefits. And Sonja's like, please, if y'all kissing, y'all doing other stuff, these are your buddies, right? So then Sonja was like, I want to know why every guy that comes across me winds up in your bed. And Ramona's like, they don't wind up in the bed. And Sonja just keeps taking these digs at Ramona, right? Then, part of that, Luann pulls Leah aside and she's like, listen, I'm on a sober journey. You're on a sober journey. You think we can take this sober journey together? And Leah's like, I mean, for sure, I support your sobriety, but you can tell she's like, she doesn't really want the responsibility, but Luann talks to her, in my opinion, Luann talks to her a little bit more. And she's like, absolutely, I'll be your wingman. I'll support you in your sobriety. Because Luann was like, you were literally sober for 9 years before. You know what it feels like. Can you just please have my back? Leah agrees. That's it, right? Then, they show a montage of all the drunken antics of why Luann does not want to get sucked back into the group. So Ramona and Luann is like, they sit down, they're talking as a group, and they're like, we should go to the Hamptons, right? Sag Harbor. Ebony's like, oh, I love Sag Harbor. It's a really spiritual place for me. And then she's like, well, why is it spiritual? And Ebony was like, because that's the first place that Black people were ever allowed to buy property in New York. They were allowed to buy waterfront property in Sag Harbor. Great piece of history. Everybody should know that. I don't know where the spiritual part comes in, but whatever, Ebony, I'll let you slide. Like, I get, maybe it was a bad thing. I get what Ebony was trying to say. Like, it's a place that holds a lot of meaning in her heart, especially in New York. The people in New York know New York has a lot of different races and ethnicities, but it's all very segregated, right? It's not like California where people really mix up. So it is something that in Sag Harbor, they let Black people, right? Native Black people, descendants of slaves, buy property, because there were a lot of places like Long Island, Staten Island, where they were not allowed. Even quiet as it's kept, Upper East Side, New York City, they still have those co-op boards, those community boards, all those places. They were put in place so Black people couldn't buy into certain condos and certain buildings, So, that history is a lot closer than anybody wants to believe. That stuff with co-op boards still happens today. So again, shout out to Ebony for dropping history, right? So Luann, they start going in on Sonja. Luann and Ramona like, how come you haven't been around? We're supposed to be your best friends. And Sonja is just looking like, right? And she's like, well, Century 21. And then Ramona, so who is it? Luann was like, but this happened before Century 21. So what's going on? And she's sandwiched between them. And you can tell she wants to run, but she was just like, so Luann was like, why don't you come up to Sag Harbor? Let's go to Hamptons. For anybody that lives in the New York area, I hate the Hamptons, but they love it. Why do I hate the Hamptons? Because people like the Real Housewives of New York are in the Hamptons. It's that age group, it's that demographic, and it's that way of thinking. Imagine boy versions of Ramona and girl versions of Ramona going around. So, then Ramona turns to Ebony and she's like, Ebony, why don't you come? And Ebony's like, oh my God, thank you. I'd love to come. That's very sweet of you to include me. And Ramona's like, well, you know what it is? I felt an instant connection. So Leah's sitting there hating from the sidelines, being like, you said the same thing to me. And Ramona was like, without skipping a beat, I mean, I did say the same thing, and I did, So that just lets you know that Ramona is still fake Ramona, but I love her, right? And Leah was trying to let Ebony know, don't fall for her BS. However, Ebony is really, really smart. You can already tell how clever she is. I think she'll be okay swimming with these sharks. I really, honestly do. Then they go into a montage of what you can expect. Naked painting, drunken antics, Ebony telling people you don't gotta leave, you don't have to leave, but you can get the hell out of here. Luann telling Ebony, don't you dare disrespect me in my house. And Ebony's like, I can leave. I don't need this. Ramona and Leah are back at each other's necks. Listen, it looks like it's going to be a really, really fun season. I am for, honestly, I'll be honest with you, Real Housewives of New York was never in my top 10 housewives. However, after the disastrous Atlanta season with production, and after the same, don't be wrong, I liked New Jersey, I didn't review it, but after the same storylines recycled over and over again with New Jersey, I'm really, really happy that we're finally back to a show that it seems like there are organic storylines, there are organic friendships, there are organic frenemyships, but the ladies of the Real Housewives of New York, they're like this with the drama, whoosh, and then they friends again, whoosh, it's like waves crashing against the shore of conflict, right? Do I want to be in the middle of a damn hurricane where everything's going? No. But I do like that ebb and flow where it always goes back to conflict, then it goes to peace, then it goes, because it's just nice to see them actually laugh, actually chill, actually flip out, actually do like crazy zany stuff, and then things reset and it goes back. So I'm actually interested to watch a show that looks like it was actually produced, to looks like they actually did things, they actually went places, and there are organic beefs and organic anger and organic resolution. You know, yes, they all have the anger, but somebody on the production team told the Real Housewives of New York, especially after Bethany left, listen, all of you HOES, right, better come together because this is an ensemble cast. No action. So I'm ready for the action. I'm waiting for a new production team to come into Atlanta and make them get in check and be like, this is an ensemble cast. There is no Queen Bee. Nene's gone. Bethany's gone. The OGs are gone. Nobody is taking their place. Get back to being old school housewives of ensemble cast. Everybody has their favorites. Nobody, you know, anyway, y'all, I'll see y'all later. Talk to you guys later. If you guys like it, of course, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. I'll be around. All right, I'll see you next one. Bye.